Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. I've told you about my skepticism when it comes to artificial intelligence, and I know there are a lot of people who are very, very thrilled with AI technology. They see all kinds of wonderful things that it's going to do one of these days. I also know that there are people who are afraid of it replacing them in their job. But do you know that it's also draining billions and billions of gallons of water every year, most of it cooling water? So I thought I'd talk to Steve Abramowicz, who is host of the Heartland Journal podcast. Hey, Steve, welcome back to the program.
Hey, thank you. It's been a couple years, but I am thrilled to be back on your show. Thank you.
I'm glad to have you back. I mean, before we get to this whole question of how much power these things use, all these AI data centers not just chew up a lot of electric power, but they consume what a lot of people may not realize, a gigantic amount of water because they have to be cooled down for all the power that they use. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, let me frame it for your audience. There are 2 data centers in San Antonio that have used 463 million gallons of water in the past 2 years, not 20 years, 2 years. And Newsweek just reported it, so the word is getting out, buyer beware. And it's interesting, they keep choosing these drought-ridden areas to do it, like Texas. I don't know why, but these data centers require an insane amount of water just to keep cool. It's not to run the bits and bytes and zeros and ones. It's just to keep them cool so they don't overheat and fry all the circuits. It's definitely not helping areas that are already struggling with drought or, the farmers.
I mean, do you see a solution to this, Steve? Because I imagine there'll be some people listening to this say, well, just use conventional air conditioning. But I'm sure the data center folks are going to say, oh, no, we need to chew up a gigantic amount of power to power all these computer servers. And if we had to air condition them as well, rather than using cooling water, then the power bill is going to go up dramatically and the power usage is going to go up dramatically, which is another but slightly different problem from the cooling water problem.
Well, I just wrote an article on this. You do have to use air conditioning, but it's the same people who complained about the air conditioning taking away the ozone and how we shouldn't live in Las Vegas, because it's against the environment, that are now saying, oh, wait a minute, we need to have our poor Terminator machines having the air conditioning. So the answer to your question is, what do we do about it? Macon, Georgia, near where I live now, near Tennessee, it's actually Monroe County. They had a board of commissioners that unanimously rejected rezoning, requested for a $5.8 billion data center. This is big money, right? So That's what we need to do, is more city councils need to say, wait a minute, are farmers, the people living there? Because, by the way, these things hum all night long. They have these lights on that if you close your eyes, you can still see the blue. Like, it's not safe for human consumption to be anywhere near it. So more counties need to say, no, thank you. But that's really hard to do because they keep saying jobs, 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 although that's not really true. And $5.8 billion is nothing to sneeze at for a little town like Macon, Georgia. So I see the catch-22 for politicians, but they're going to be basically lording over the surface of the moon if you can't grow any crops and people can't get to sleep at night, and they're certainly not working there. And they only need like 100 people. It's not like it's thousands of jobs like Microsoft on Redmond campus. So, and that's just data centers. That doesn't talk about carbon capture, which is a whole nother animal. But what I see is big business really raping the land and outsourcing it, because you probably saw TikTok was sold to Oracle, but China gets to keep 20% of it. They used to have all of it. What's to say that you get a data center where you take all the water from the Spartan Aquifer outside of Memphis, Google on one side and Elon's XAI on the other side, use all the water, and the data just transfers to China. So they get our real estate. They don't even have to, come in here. They get the info so they can have TikTok and they can have their cats eating breakfast, and dancing, which is really all this is. And I say that in jest, but long story short, this isn't even an economic business model. McKinsey themselves has said, I don't really think we're going to be making any money on this chat GPT stuff. So what in the world are we doing, raping the land for no economic benefit?
For basically for entertainment, right?
Kind of. I mean, you and I are talking on my cell phone, and I've been on Zoom all day, and I've got a computer that, I need to write my show on and stuff. And so we have technology, but do we need to store all this data, trillions and trillions and trillions of gallons of water, just in order to communicate? Well, no, because we're already doing it, and the data centers haven't even gotten started yet. Although Donald Trump, for some reason, said it's a race, but we've got about 5,000 in America. China's got about 50. So if it's a race, we're already way ahead. And then,
Okay,
of course, Qatar has said, go ahead.
Steve, is there a technological and maybe even an old tech solution? I've always been a fan of nuclear power. The usual thing people see when they identify a nuclear power plant is the big cooling tower, which is really old tech. I mean, all they really do is take the water that comes off the power cycle of generating power, and they put it up in the top of the tower, and they let it fall like rain, and it sheds heat into the air, and then at the bottom, the water cooled goes back into the cycle. Is it not possible to use water and maybe use fewer billions of gallons than they're planning to use if they did some of that? No?
You can do that. You can do that, but it's not the total solution, because when you heat water, it turns into steam and it evaporates, and you can't, go up to the clouds, although they try this with cloud seeding. So here's the answer to your question. The United States, and this is now not a theory, it's been tested. So back to 2023, 17 billion gallons directly for cooling, which obviously has, significant indirect water use for electricity generation, which is usually coal-fired power plants. And that is, everyone's always like, oh, we drive a Tesla. It's an electric car. Well, where does the electricity come? Oh, it comes from a station over here. Where do they get it? They get it from coal. So again, kumbaya, let's all be green, but you're going to end up right back in the coal where we started from, because it's the cheapest energy there is. Solar doesn't work. Wind doesn't work. It chops up the birds. You can't win with these greenies. And so I just wrote an article today, as a matter of fact, about the new farm bill. Every 5 years, there's a farm bill in the United States, and it is littered with these green subsidies. Like, remember Solyndra that Obama bankrupted, or A123, these batteries that never degrade and they get stuck in a landfill in Marrakesh, out of sight, out of mind? This is worse than that by about a factor of 10.
Wonderful. I mean,
I know, it's sad. I wish I could be optimistic. I'm a Reagan optimist. I don't want to come on and bum you out, but here's the deal. The largest data center in the country is Arkansas. It's going to be Google's new campus in West Memphis, $4 billion investment. Get this, 1,100-acre site. Right? They just broke ground this month. The project's going to be Google's first in Arkansas, and described as the largest private investment in Arkansas's history. So congratulations, Governor of Arkansas. You made history. But 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what water are they going to drink?
It's a big, good question. That's Steve Abramowicz, who is host of the Heartland Journal podcast. Hey, Steve, thanks very much. I appreciate your time. Back in a moment. We'll be glad to get your calls at 866-HEY-LARS. Stream this show, podcast it, or you can download the Lars Larson Show, and you can always tell Alexa to play